Within a week of settling into apartment 213, Dahmer lures 32-year-old Raymond Smith home for a drink, laces it with drugs, strangles him to death, and dismembers his body. A month later, Dahmer repeats the process on a 27-year-old acquaintance, Edward Smith, raising his victim count to 7.
Before you went out to pick up a man, was there any kind of ritual you went through?
I'd go to the nightclubs, drink, watch the striptease shows, and if I didn't meet anyone at the bars, I'd go to the bath clubs and meet someone there, offer them money, and we'd go back to the apartment, have a few drinks. I'd have the sleeping pill mixture already prepared. Person would drink it, fall asleep, and that's when they would be strangled.
The question of how Mr. Dahmer chose his victims, I don't think is a complicated one. He tried to find people that were attractive to him and who were willing to go with him voluntarily. He wasn't jumping out of cars and attacking people and so on.
The men he's inviting back don't want to just lie there. They want to get it on, get it over with, and get going. He found that enormously frustrating. Some of them rolled him, some of them were nasty to him. He didn't want to get into an argument or get into a fight or get robbed. He wanted somebody to lie there with him. But he was picking the wrong guys to try to achieve that. So he began drugging them at his apartment.
He wanted his victims to be still and quiet, so he didn't have to face their humanity.
It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. When you depersonalize another person and view them as just an object for pleasure instead of a living, breathing human being, it seems to make it easier to do things you shouldn't do.
It struck me that classifying murder as a thing you shouldn't do minimizes the horror and brutality of Jeffrey Dahmer's actions.
Dahmer drugged his victims, though they weren't pleading for their lives. They weren't crying out in pain as he inflicted a torture on them. So he was in many ways different, frighteningly different.
Do you ever think about your victims?
I've often wondered why I haven't had more dreams or nightmares about what I've done. For some reason, it's like it's blocked off from part of my mind. If I dwelled on the subject all the time, I wouldn't be able to function.
I had asked him a number of times, why are you down here? You know, when you can go somewhere else and stay, like in West Allis, at your grandmother's house or something like that, and you would rather be here, where you're surrounded by blacks, and that's all that was over there was black people and some Asian people. He was like, I like it better down here because I can keep more to myself.
Pamela Bass, who lives across the hall from Dahmer in the Oxford apartments, develops a soft spot for the man she would describe as an unassuming bachelor.
You know, me and my husband at that time was trying to get him a girlfriend because he thought that, you know, he was over there by himself and he didn't get out much and all this here kind of stuff. So he had said, no, I'm fine. I just want to work and be left alone.
Milwaukee Emergency Operator 71.
Okay, hi. I'm on 25th and State, and this is young man. He is butt naked. He has been beaten up. He is very bruised up.
He looked like a little kid. He had a towel around, and it had blood, and he had blood running down his leg.
The boy is 14-year-old Conorak Sinthensamphone. Injured and drugged, he escaped when Jeffrey Dahmer left the apartment to buy beer. In a terrible twist of fate, he's the younger brother of the boy Dahmer was arrested for molesting 3 years earlier.
What had already happened that the police couldn't possibly have known is that Mr. Dahmer had drilled a small hole in the skull of this young man and poured a caustic substance into it, thinking that he now created this zombie.
They didn't see the drillings into the head that he had conducted. Apparently it was into the hairline.
The incoherent boy is with the police when Dahmer returns, but instead of fleeing the scene, he acts as cool as ever.
Dahmer went right up to the police and says, "This is my lover. Come, I'll take you back to my apartment. Here's his clothes. They were all folded on the couch."
Mr. Dahmer did keep his wits and persuaded them by showing some pictures that this young lad had voluntarily taken, that these were just two consenting homosexual adults engaging in sexual activity. I don't think the police recognized the age of this young man at that time.
The body of the last victim, Tony Hughes, is still there, but the police don't look around. Instead, they leave the boy in the apartment with Dahmer.
The intoxicated Asian naked male was returned to his sober boyfriend.
Did that play an element in it, that there were homosexuals involved possibly? I can't assess that. I think that would be a harsh judgment.
During the incident where the police were called, and the young boy was returned to you, that didn't wake you up at all? The police on your doorstep?
They were in the apartment. They were actually in the apartment, and there was a dead young man in the bedroom on the floor. I couldn't believe it when it turned out that they didn't see anything. I couldn't believe it. And yes, it did shock me, but not enough to quit. That's how strong the compulsion was.
Any neighbors with lingering suspicions are assured by the police that nothing is out of the ordinary, as you'll hear in this 911 call.
It's all taken care of, ma'am.
What if he's a child and not an adult? I mean, are you positive this is an adult?
Ma'am, like I explained to you, it's all taken care of. It's as positive as I can be.
Well, the next day, Dahmer killed him.
After the close call with the police in May of 1991, Jeffrey Dahmer's killing accelerates to a dizzying pace. Within a week, he murders 20-year-old Matt Turner and 23-year-old Jeremiah Weinberger. Only 10 days later, he strangles 24-year-old Oliver Lacey.
Things just began to deteriorate. He became like a killing machine out of control. There were just body parts at the end, all over the place.
Before long, his neighbors report a foul stench coming from somewhere on their floor.
Ooh, I can't even describe it. It's a horrible smell. I know me and Jeff had went up and down the hallway smelling, trying to see where it was coming from.
The landlord eventually tracks the smell to Dahmer's apartment.
He told the manager, "Well, my fish died." Then he told him my meat spoiled. And then the third time the manager came up and told him, he complained about the smell. He told him, "You're going to be evicted next month."
I went in, they helped him clean up, and he told me, he said, "It's the freezer over there that my grandma had sent me some meat, and I put it in there, and I went back to her house, and I forgot to plug it in." I haven't been around no dead people. I don't know anything about how they smell.